Please, Mr. Ostreicher, I would have to ask the Director of Special Ed to give me a pattern. If every year we're receiving 3,000 extra non-public students, then she would have to, there is, in the last 5 years, we can certainly look at the average number of children who are being classified from the non-public. I can ask for that, but I don't have those figures on the top of my head.
Madam Superintendent, what I'm concerned about over here is you look through the budget in a very
Mr. Blaustein.
That was me.
Mr. Seidler, address your comments to the, this is not a time to discuss with the public.
Okay, so I'll address my comments.
Okay. I'm
Mr. Seidler is in the middle of the question.
Some decorum over here. I sat in the meeting and I asked this question, and I did ask this question. What I'm concerned about here is Madam Superintendent, on page E5, there's a top line that says tuition for private schools for a shy school, disabled children, is $544,000 less this year. Going further down, line number 06482, purchased professional educational services, or OT, PT, speech and related services, is $784,000 less. Supplies and material for that type of work is $4,000 less, for a total of $1.332 million less. Do you anticipate a 10% drop in the population of the special ed that we can afford a 10% drop in that particular line of the budget?
I cannot answer that. I don't know.
Well, then while putting those numbers down, then it's not accurate. We're going to start making different transfers next year, and then we'll fall short. If this is not, if you can't answer that, then what worth is the entire budget here if you can't give me accurate numbers? And not only that, Madam Superintendent, if you go through the budget, you keep on saying that it will not affect our children, it will not affect their education. Every single line, practically, maybe 3 times enough, but every single line that refers to any purchases of supplies and books is down this year. How many times did we hear from our public that some of our students don't have pencils and paper, and we're going to decrease? I'm talking to the superintendent right now. So I don't understand what this budget is all about. Is it just a bunch of numbers that are plopped down on a piece of paper without any correct assumptions over here? Obviously, there has to be assumptions here. And what are your assumptions based on? That's all I'm interested in.
Let me share with you the painstaking, and I know that you've heard some of it, the painstaking efforts we had to make to reduce the budget. I was clearly told by the board, the collective body of the board, to reduce the budget. I did in different areas. And if you want me to answer, based on the analysis that was presented to me by the BA and the former BA, this was the most, I would say the least harmful to all the students involved. But given the economic times that we're in, we have to make budget cuts. I know that. But I did not want to, as I said before, I did not want to have cuts of staff members. So yes, everybody got hit. Everybody got hit. I had to reduce and I am of the nature that we need 5 times the budget that we have, not less. But that's not the reality of the world nor our budget. So I had to make some budget cuts, and because I was told that in the areas you indicated, not all the money that was used that we normally had contributed from the general ed, not all that money was used. So therefore, I felt, given that information, that it would do the least harm. I don't want to have any budget cuts, and I think I've said that over and over in the private sessions as well as public. But when it comes down to it, I have to make some hard decisions. Again, I don't want to make any cuts, but we had to make some. And that those areas you indicated seem to be the ones that I could cut because all the money that had been allocated to them in the past 2 years was not utilized. Hence, I decided that that would be a place of not as much harm. Of course, it's going to be harm, but not as much.
Through the chair.
Thank you. I'm still in the middle of my question.
No, but you
What
have to
is,
answer now. I don't have a chance. Through the chair, Mr. President, I
I'm
have
still
a
in the middle of my
chance.
comment over here. I'm
Mr.
still,
Bruno,
I'm coming
You
back
got
to her
your
question.
answer, and I want a chance to speak.
Order, please.
Madam
Through the
Superintendent,
chair.
is it appropriate, is it appropriate, and I can appreciate, one second, just give an answer, I'm coming
Mr.
back.
Black.
Please, Mr. President, run the meeting, all right? We know the Venezuela here. Let's go.
Mr. Parliamentarian, would you please tell me what the right thing to do is there?
The right thing to do is to have these questions answered. Let me just say this, I've sat
The
here
right
and...
thing to do is to behave in a civilized manner, Mr. Oscar.
Right.
Wow, wait, look at that one.
Okay, that surely isn't appropriate. But I do want to respond to the question.
Whoa, I'm waiting to get patiently.
I know, but just not always do you need to be heard. Respectfully, Mr. Seidler, if I could have a moment, and please. Regarding the question, if I understood what was just asked, I was advised by the administration, and more importantly by the special ed department, that, Mr. Seidler, are you okay with that? That we actually had budgeted this year close to $1 million in what's called a rebuild. What happens for the public's benefit as well as the board's is we are given a tuition rate for all out-of-district placements, Alpha, Collier, wherever it may be, Shy. The state sets that rate, not us. After that rate is set, the state then comes and does an audit, if you will, of those schools. They then assess if enough money was charged or not enough money was charged. We have no say in this. Then the State Department of Education says, okay, well, the tuition was too low or too high. Just so you know, from what I've been told by the former and the current, is that in the 10-11 budget, there was approximately $1 million, a little shy of $1 million, that was for the rebuild for one school alone. So it's, I say, and now again, what will be the rebuild the following year? I'm not sure, but there was close to $1 million according to the information we've been given by our esteemed administration here. As far as, I want to remind the board members that every department in this place is supposed to submit a budget. The math department, each school, we do, I think it's called zero-based budgeting, and each school submits a budget. In addition to that, each department submits a budget. From what I understand from being here for some years, is that every department, including the special ed department, gives a budget to the central administration, and they review that. I assume that was done, but I assume these numbers just didn't come from heaven. I'm not suggesting there's enough money or not enough money.
I'm asking for the rationale, and I'm not getting a number on that.
Okay.
Through the chair, can I speak?
I'd like to answer back on what the superintendent just mentioned. Okay.
Well, let me make a ruling since I've been asked. Mr. Seidler, ask your question.
Okay. I believe that the board members were sent on Friday a paper that would address this issue. However, it seems that some board members didn't see it, so I'll mention it again. This year, in the line item that Mr. Ostrander brought up, we spent $1 million more than we spent last year. In the budget is $1 million more than we spent last year. The reason why we see a reduction, as was explained then, for those that looked, is that last year we got a $2.7 million rebill for the prior year from Shy. That means that Shy not only charged us $10 million, they came back and charged us another $2.7 million on top of all the other money that they took in terms of days and everything else. So that totaled up last year to be $14 million just for Shy. This year, we started out with billing only $12.5 million, and we only got rebilled for another $1 million. So even though last year, after everything was said and done, we started out paying only $11.5, and then got rebilled for another 2.7, total 14. This year we started out at 12.5, but only got rebilled for $1 million. Therefore, the budget that we have now going next year is again going to be $1 million more than last year, and we'll have to see whatever happens with the rebuild. In terms of the other item, in terms of the other line item that Mr. Ostrander brought up, we were told last meeting in public that there was $1.5 million that was unused. We only took out $700 something, which are those who remember, we got an $860,000 additional grant this year for that line item, and that is why we have such enormous surplus for it. I would, if you look at the transportation budget, there is an additional, I believe, $600,000 or $700,000 budgeted this year, maybe even $1 million, I don't remember. I don't have it in front of me. There is one item that I do believe should be revisited, and that is the roof. We did get three people to go up there, 3 architects to go up there. All of them, I believe, stated the same thing that we heard last year in January 2010, that there is a problem with the roof. However, none of them, and I reviewed all 3 reports, none of them said that there is a chance of an emergency imminent falling in of the roof on people's heads. We did get a quote of somebody who went up on the roof and said that he can fix all the problems on the roof for $1 million. Now, we have another one, which we mentioned before, that we said that the VA mentioned that it might have been between 2 and 2.5, and there's another one for 2.8. I would suggest that being that we have all kinds of different quotes, it is not prudent for us to go ahead and take $750,000 this year from taxpayers and put it aside for the roof. I would suggest that we lower that amount by half to $375, allocate that towards the roof, and then we could look further into different ideas that can fix it. And should it turn out that we must fix it and that we need to get more money, we can wait till next year. We can ask the state to kick in that 40% in September. And I don't think that it's the prudent thing now to take out $750. I believe it should be lowered to $375.